I didn't catch on right away. That's the part that really haunts me. It wasn't some thunderclap moment, no whisper in my ear telling me she was betraying me. It was slower, like a crack in glass that widens every second quietly until the whole thing just shatters in your hands. It started on a Tuesday. That's what I always come back to. A regular, unremarkable Tuesday. I'd gotten home from work, walked through the front door, and the house was quiet. Not the peaceful kind of quiet. The off kind. The kind that makes you check your phone to see if you missed a call or a message. I didn't. So I called out. No answer. Then I heard something upstairs. Voices, hers, and another man's. My feet stopped. For maybe a second. Or 5. It was like my body knew before my brain did. I didn't storm up. I didn't even breathe. I moved like I was in someone else's house, like this couldn't possibly be mine. My hand touched the railing, and the second I started climbing the stairs, her voice dropped. That fake laugh of hers, it vanished. Doors shuffled. One closed. The other opened. I heard her walking fast down the hall. When I got to the top of the stairs, she was already coming toward me. Hair tied up, a cardigan on, eyes wide, but not in surprise. Not in guilt. In control. Like she was 2 steps ahead of whatever I thought I knew. I didn't even get to ask. She said, "Oh hey, you're back early," and leaned in to kiss my cheek like she wasn't just in a room whispering with another man. I looked past her. The door to our daughter's room was cracked. The guest room was closed. And then I saw it, brown leather loafers, peeking out from behind the guest room bed. Not fully hidden. Not even trying. I pushed past her. She grabbed my arm tighter than I thought she could. "What are you doing?" I didn't answer. My heart was screaming and I couldn't hear anything else. I opened the door. There he was. This man. Sitting on the edge of the bed like he belonged there. Wearing a button-down like he came from some interview. But the collar was crooked and his hands were shaking. His eyes met mine. And I recognized him. Not from real life. From photos. Ones I'd found years ago in her old college albums that she never thought I'd look through. Her ex. The one she called a mistake. The one she swore ruined her trust in men. The one she claimed to despise more than anyone. And now he was in my house. In my guest room. With my wife pulling at my sleeve. Saying things like, "Please don't do anything crazy. And he's just here to talk. That's all." She said it like she didn't just spit in my face. I stared at him and he wouldn't stand. He didn't even have the decency. Just sat there like he was paralyzed. Like the floor would swallow him if he moved. "You have 3 seconds to get out of my house," I said. My voice didn't shake. That surprised me. My hands were fists, but my voice was steel. 1. He stood. Slowly. Didn't even look at her. 2. He brushed past me, eyes on the floor. I didn't touch him. I don't know how I didn't. I heard the front door open. Then close. And silence again. That was the first fracture. But the real explosion didn't come until I turned to her and asked one question. "How long?" And she said, without flinching, without even blinking, "Does it matter?" It was like being doused in gasoline and set alight. I could have taken any other answer. Lies, silence, tears. But she gave me that. And right then I knew. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't a one-time slip or a moment of weakness. She invited him in. Not just into our house. Into this. And she'd done it with her eyes wide open that I couldn't stay in the same room with her. I went downstairs. Not because I had anything to do there. But because I couldn't look at her face without wanting to tear the walls apart. She followed me, still calm. Too calm. Like she'd rehearsed this conversation, like she'd played out this scene in her head a dozen times, and now it was just about getting through it. "I know you're upset," she said behind me. Her voice. That voice I once woke up to every morning like it was home. Now it sounded like a stranger had stolen it. "You don't get to stand there and act like this is normal," I said, turning. He was in our house. "What, you thought I'd never walk upstairs again?" She crossed her arms. Defensive. Tired. Like I was the one who'd done something wrong. "I told you," she said. "We were just talking." That was the moment I felt something break in me. Not anger. Not sadness. Something deeper. A kind of betrayal that doesn't even come with pain, it just hollows you out. "Don't insult me," I said quietly. "You didn't even try to hide his shoes." You wanted me to find out. She looked at me like she was about to say something, then stopped. Her mouth opened slightly, then shut. And then she rolled her eyes. Rolled her eyes. I'm not doing this with you, she muttered, turning her back and heading to the kitchen like we were in the middle of a regular argument about groceries or chores. I followed her. I wasn't done. How long has he been coming here? No answer. How long? She opened the fridge, took out a bottle of water, unscrewed the cap and drank. Slowly, like she was buying time. Like she wanted me to explode so she could make me the villain. You think I haven't noticed? The sudden gym obsession. The constant texting. That perfume you wore last week? You haven't worn that in years. You wore it for him, didn't you? She smirked. A damn smirk. That same one she used to give when she caught our daughter lying about sneaking candy at night. It was a smirk. Like I was some child who couldn't keep up with the grown-ups. You're being dramatic, she finally said. It's not what you think. You think I'm stupid? And then she snapped. Like she couldn't hold in the contempt anymore. Honestly? A little. You work late. You're always tired. We haven't had a real conversation in months. You think I was just going to sit here and rot while you buried your head in spreadsheets and schedules? I stepped back. That hit harder than anything. So this is my fault. I didn't say that, she said. But her tone said exactly that. You didn't have to say it. You just stood there and made it clear you've been planning this for a while. Letting him back in. Behind my back. Under my roof. She didn't deny it. She just looked at me and said the coldest thing I'd ever heard from her mouth. I didn't owe you a warning. That was it. That sentence. I swear the temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. My ears rang. My pulse vanished. Everything inside me went still. I couldn't believe how easy it was for her to be cruel. To twist the knife and make it seem like I deserved it. I opened my mouth, then shut it. I didn't know what to say anymore. That's when I heard footsteps. Light ones. Our daughter. She stood at the edge of the hallway holding a book to her chest, looking between us like she'd walked into the middle of a hurricane. What's going on? She asked, her voice small. Before I could say anything, before I could explain or protect her from any of it, her mother walked over, bent down, and said something I'll never forgive. He's just upset about something silly. It's nothing, sweetheart. And just like that, she dismissed everything. The betrayal, the lies, the man who sat in our guest room. She reduced it all to something silly. And our daughter? She looked at me like I was the one ruining the peace. She walked over to her mom, took her hand. And that's when I knew. This wasn't just a broken marriage. It was a split battlefield. And I was already losing the war. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in the living room on the couch that still smelled faintly of her perfume. It used to be comforting. Now it made me sick. The silence in the house was suffocating, and every creak, every movement upstairs set my nerves on fire. I could hear the occasional shuffling from the bedroom. Our bedroom. Hers now, apparently. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who to call. You don't plan for this kind of betrayal. You don't sit around preparing a game plan for when the person you trusted with everything casually rips your entire life into two jagged halves. In the morning, I heard laughter. Our daughters. It was coming from the kitchen. I walked in and there they were, sitting at the table like everything was normal. Like the night before hadn't happened. She was making pancakes, my thing, by the way, and our daughter was smiling, not even glancing in my direction. I stood there for a second, just watching them. The betrayal didn't just belong to my wife anymore. It had spread like a virus. My daughter didn't know the full story, of course. But somehow in less than 12 hours, her mother had twisted the narrative. Morning, my wife said, not even looking at me. She slid a plate in front of our daughter and kissed her forehead. She acted like I was a roommate, not a husband. Not the man she'd cheated on. Not the man she just dismantled like some old piece of furniture she no longer needed. Our daughter looked up at me briefly. Not a smile. Not a glare. Just indifference. And that hurt more than anything. I wasn't even her enemy, I was just something unimportant now. I sat down across from them. Quiet. Boiling. Can we talk? I said, directing it at her. My wife. The woman who tore down our life and didn't even blink while doing it. She didn't answer right away. She just sipped her coffee, then finally said, not now. I clenched my fists under the table. Then when? After you bring him back for lunch? That got her attention. She set her mug down and gave me that look, the one she used to give me when I forgot to take the trash out. Like I was inconveniencing her. "You're not going to make a scene in front of our daughter," she said, low but sharp. I turned to our daughter. "Sweetheart, could you go up and finish your project? I'll help you with it in a few minutes." She hesitated, looked at her mother. Not me. And when her mom nodded, she got up and left without another word. And then it was just us. She stood there, arms crossed, leaning on the counter like she had all the power in the room. Maybe she did. I wasn't even sure anymore. "Tell me the truth." "All of it," I said. Her eyes flicked toward the hallway, then back to me. "You won't like it. Try me." She exhaled and turned toward the sink, rinsing off a plate that didn't need rinsing. "He reached out 4 months ago. Said he was in town. We started talking. That's it. That's not it. He was in our house. He came by. Once. Maybe twice. Maybe?" I snapped. "I caught him here. You lied to me right to my face. You dragged him into our home. You made him comfortable. You made this place unsafe." She turned, drying her hands with a towel. "Don't be dramatic. Unsafe? He didn't do anything. He doesn't belong here. I decide who belongs in my life," she said, her voice rising. "You don't get to control that. You're married to me. And yet," she said, folding the towel, "here we are." I stepped back. It was like talking to someone who'd already moved on, like trying to argue with a locked door. There was nothing behind her eyes but distance. Cold, calculated distance. "So that's it? You're just done?" She shrugged. "I don't know. Maybe. We've been done for a while, haven't we? You just didn't want to admit it." I couldn't take it anymore. I left the kitchen, grabbed my keys, and walked out the front door. The morning air hit me like a slap, but it still felt better than being inside that tomb of a house. I sat in the car for what felt like an hour, staring at the steering wheel. At nothing. My whole life had pivoted overnight. And the worst part? She was fine. And my daughter? My own kid? She didn't even ask if I was okay. That betrayal cut the deepest. It wasn't just that I lost my wife. It was that I was losing my daughter, too. The next few days were a blur of silence and shadows. She didn't say a word about what happened. Not a single apology. Not even a weak attempt to explain herself. She just went about life like nothing had imploded, like we weren't standing in the ashes of a marriage she personally torched. But the part that tore me apart more than anything was how seamlessly our daughter adapted to the new version of normal. No questions. No confusion. Just silence. It was like someone had flipped a switch in her. And I knew that wasn't natural. Someone had told her a version of the truth she could digest. And I hadn't been the one to do it. I confronted her on a Thursday. I'd spent hours pacing around the house, trying to decide whether to let it go or unleash the hurricane inside me. I should have walked away. Maybe that would have been the smart move. But when you love someone for over a decade, you don't just watch them drag your name through dirt and say nothing. She was in the laundry room, folding clothes like a damn housewife from a commercial. So calm. So fake. And I stood there just watching her, something bubbling under my ribs like boiling tar. "Did you tell her?" She didn't even look up. "Tell who what?" "Our daughter." "Don't play dumb." She placed a folded shirt on the basket and finally looked at me. Her face was unreadable. "I told her what she needed to hear." "What you needed her to hear, you mean?" Her jaw tensed. "She doesn't need to be dragged into our problems." "She already is in it," I shot back. "You made her part of this the second you let him walk through her door. You think she didn't hear anything? You think she doesn't know something's wrong? She knows you're angry. She knows the energy in this house is toxic. That's what she knows." I blinked. "Toxic?" She didn't flinch. "Yes, you're always hovering, always watching, always trying to dissect every little thing I do. No one can breathe around you." So now I was controlling. That's the role I'd been assigned. And just like that, she rewrote the script. Her betrayal became a reaction. My devastation became a symptom of my own faults. "You're rewriting history," I said quietly. "I'm surviving it." She pushed the laundry basket aside and walked past me. I didn't stop her, but something twisted inside me so violently I had to sit down. I didn't recognize her anymore. Her voice was the same, her face was the same, but there was nothing behind the eyes. No guilt, no sadness, not even nostalgia for what we used to be. Just a woman who had already stepped out of the life we built and was treating me like some squatter who wouldn't leave. That evening, I made dinner. She didn't offer to help. She sat in the living room scrolling on her phone. And when our daughter came down and sat at the table, I tried to talk to her. I asked her about school, her friends, her book project. She barely looked up from her plate. When I asked if she wanted to watch our favorite movie after dinner, she said she was tired. But it was 7:15. She wasn't tired. She was choosing her. I cleaned the kitchen by myself, listened to the two of them giggling in the upstairs hallway, and I realized something so sharp it nearly dropped me to my knees. I wasn't just being shut out of my marriage. I was being erased from my own family. Brick by brick, moment by moment, she was repainting the whole house with new memories that didn't include me. And the worst part? She was good at it. I started keeping notes. Not because I thought I'd forget, but because I was afraid she would make me question what really happened. Every conversation, every glance, every strange moment with our daughter. I wrote it all down, because somewhere deep down, I knew she was building a story. One where I was the distant husband, the emotionally absent father, the man who drove her away. And I needed the truth to anchor me before the gaslighting pulled me under. Friday night, everything shifted again. It was around 10 p.m. I was in the garage, pretending to sort through old boxes, but really just trying to find a moment of peace. That's when I heard a car pull up. No headlights shining into the window like usual. Just the low rumble of an engine, a quick shutdown, and silence. I froze. Then I heard the side gate creak open. Nobody ever used the side gate. I stepped out and leaned against the wall, peeking toward the driveway. There he was, again, that same button-down wearing coward, carrying something, a bag, not groceries, not a briefcase, a damn overnight bag. And the thing that broke me, that knocked the wind out of my lungs like a punch to the chest, was that our daughter opened the door for him, like she was expecting him, like this was routine. I didn't even go outside. I didn't shout. I walked in through the front, took the stairs 2 at a time, and stood at the top while he walked in like a guest who had a key. She met him at the bottom of the staircase. No hug, no dramatic kiss, just a hand on his arm, like they were already used to being a team, already acting like we never existed. Cleared my throat. He looked up, his face drained of color. She, on the other hand, didn't flinch, didn't even blink. You said you wouldn't bring him here again, I said, voice flat, controlled. I could hear my heartbeat pounding in my ears. I didn't agree to that, she said, casual. You said it. I just didn't respond. So now he's staying? She didn't answer. I'm still living in this house, I said, voice rising. Our daughter still lives here. And you're just parading him around like this is some vacation rental you can share with your boy toy. Her eyes sharpened. Don't call him that. Oh, sorry. Your former mistake, current side project, is that better? She stepped up one stair. Close. Her voice dropped to a deadly whisper. He's a better father to her than you've been in months. And that was where I lost it. That's the story now? That I've been a bad father? That he, a man she didn't know existed until recently, is suddenly the superior parent. She talks to him, she said with this twisted kind of satisfaction. She laughs around him. She told me she feels more understood when he's here. Of course she does, I snapped. He's not her father. He's a shiny distraction from the chaos you created. You're jealous, she said, shrugging. It's sad, really. That word. Jealous. Like I was a child having a tantrum. I looked at him. He still hadn't said a word. Just standing there, pretending he wasn't responsible for burning down a marriage and walking through the smoke like a guest of honor. Say something, I told him. You've been sneaking into my house, cozying up to my daughter, destroying my family. Say something. He looked at her, then at me, then back at her. She spoke for him. He doesn't need to say anything. You've said enough for everyone. And just like that, she turned away, took his hand, led him down the hall like I wasn't even there. And our daughter? She watched it all from the stairs. Said nothing. Just followed them a few steps later. I stood there, alone, listening to doors close. Laughter. The sound of them, not me, settling in for the night. That night, I didn't sleep in the living room. I slept in my car. Because even though my name was still on the mortgage, and my clothes were still in the closet, and my toothbrush still sat by the sink, I wasn't welcome in that house anymore. Not really. And they all knew it. The morning after I slept in the car, something inside me calcified. Not broke, changed. There's a point where grief hardens, when the heartbreak quiets, and all that's left is the cold realization that the person standing across from you is no longer capable of caring if you drown. I walked back into the house around 6 a.m. Quiet, careful. My back hurt. My mouth was dry. I hadn't closed my eyes once. The living room was empty. The hallway dim. The guest room door was closed. I didn't touch it. I didn't need to. What was behind that door had already made itself permanent in my life, and in hers. He wasn't a secret anymore. He was a fixture. I went into the kitchen, made coffee, sat at the table like I used to when mornings were simple. And then I waited. They came downstairs together. He looked like he belonged. She looked like it was just another Tuesday. I didn't speak. I watched. I memorized how he smiled at her, how she reached out and fixed the collar of his shirt without even thinking. They moved like people who had skipped guilt and gone straight to comfort. Then our daughter came down. She beamed when she saw him. Sat next to him at the table. They whispered about something I couldn't hear. She laughed. He ruffled her hair. And me? I wasn't part of the picture anymore. I was some extra on a set that had been recast. That's when I said it calm, even. You two want to play house? Fine. But we're not doing this under one roof. Her smile dropped. You're not kicking me out of my own home, she said. I'm not kicking you out. I'm stepping out of the circus. You can have the clowns. She stood up slowly like she was preparing for a fight. But I didn't give her one. I stood, walked past her, and started packing a bag. I took only what I needed. A few clothes. My laptop. My documents. My dignity, what was left of it. She followed me into the bedroom. You're being dramatic again, she said. Running away doesn't fix anything. Staying here is the problem, I said. I've become the outsider in my own story. You're abandoning her, she snapped. That word. Abandoning. The irony nearly choked me. You abandoned me when you brought him in. I'm just reacting to what's already been done. She folded her arms. She needs stability. Then maybe don't replace her father with your ex like you're switching brands of cereal. You're being cruel. I zipped the bag and looked her dead in the eye. Cruel? You brought another man into her life and asked her to accept him like it's a favor. You turned her against me without even telling me what lies you fed her. You broke every part of this family and smiled while doing it. And she didn't deny it. She just whispered, you always made me feel small. He doesn't. That sentence stayed with me as I walked out the door. No tears. No shouting. Just that quiet little knife she slipped between my ribs. I left the house and drove. Nowhere specific. Just away. And for the first time in weeks, I felt something close to clarity. Not peace. Not forgiveness. Just the first breath of air that didn't taste like betrayal. But I also knew the real battle hadn't even started yet. Because she had the house. She had our daughter. And I was just a man on the outside, fighting to be remembered. I stayed with my brother for the first few nights. He didn't ask many questions, just handed me a beer, made space on the couch, and said, whatever it is, we'll figure it out. But figuring it out doesn't quite apply when you've been replaced in your own home like a piece of broken furniture. The second I left, she got bold. Comfortable. She stopped pretending it was temporary. That house, that bed, that life, he took it over like it had always been his. I still had a set of cameras installed, hidden ones, part of our old home security upgrade. I hadn't turned them off. Part of me couldn't let go, and the other part wanted truth. Proof. Something to remind me I wasn't going crazy. And what I saw made my blood go cold. 3 days after I left, she threw a small gathering. Just a few friends. The kind we used to host together. Only this time, there was no hesitation. No hiding. She walked around the kitchen with her arm around him. He grilled in the backyard like he'd lived there for years. They laughed together on the porch with wine glasses clinking. Our daughter helped set the table like it was some festive occasion. They looked like a family. My family. He even sat in my chair. Not a metaphor. My actual armchair, the one I bought after our daughter was born because I needed something sturdy enough to rock her to sleep. I stared at the screen, watching him recline in it, flipping through TV channels like the place belonged to him. And she? She sat beside him, legs tucked under, her head on his shoulder. I don't know how long I sat watching it. I don't know why I didn't smash the laptop or burn the hard drive. But I needed to see it. I needed to understand how deep this went. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a moment of weakness. She'd chosen him. But what came next? That I wasn't prepared for. The next day, I went to pick up our daughter for school. We'd agreed, at least I had suggested, we keep things stable. Keep the routine. I showed up at 7:30, just like I used to. Knocked on the door. He answered it. He actually answered it. Not her. Not our daughter. Him. Hey, he said. Just that. Like we were neighbors. Like none of it was insane. Where is she? I asked. She's upstairs, he said, stepping aside like it was his place to do so. She'll be down in a sec. I walked in, and there she was, my wife, sitting at the kitchen counter, sipping coffee like she hadn't just invited the fox into the henhouse and handed him a robe. You're early, she said, not looking up. I'm on time. Like always. She just shrugged. Our daughter came down, backpack ready. I gave her a quick hug, tried to keep things light. She hugged me back, but it wasn't the same. There was a stiffness to it. She didn't let go first, but she didn't want to hold on either. You ready? I asked. She nodded, then looked past me. Looked at him. Can he come too? I swear, the floor vanished beneath my feet. No, I said firmly. It's our time today. She frowned. But he said he'd show me that new place with the mini go-karts. The one Mom was talking about. I looked at her mother. She didn't even blink. I thought it'd be fun, she said. I turned to him. You really think it's okay to just tag along now? You think this is your role? I'm just trying to help, he muttered. You've helped enough, I snapped. And then, to my horror, my daughter pulled away from me and said, Why are you always so mad? He's nice. We have fun when you're not around. That sentence cracked something open inside me that still hasn't closed. She didn't mean it. Or maybe she did. Either way, she said it. I took her to school in silence. She didn't talk. She didn't look at me. And when she got out of the car, she didn't say goodbye. I sat there, parked outside the school, staring at the empty seat next to me for what felt like an hour. This wasn't just about betrayal anymore. This was about loss. I was losing my child, 1 minute at a time. And she, my wife, she knew it. She was orchestrating the whole thing like it was a symphony, and she was enjoying every second of it. The day after the school drop-off, I met with a lawyer. Not because I was ready to file for divorce yet. I wasn't. Not really. Not emotionally. But I needed to know my options. I needed to know what she could take from me, what she couldn't, and how I could stop this slow, surgical removal of my presence from my daughter's life. The lawyer was blunt, kind but firm. She's setting up a narrative, he said. You need to counter it. Yesterday. What kind of narrative? The kind where she becomes the stable, reasonable one. The kind where she casts you as volatile, unreliable. Absent. She doesn't have to make you look like a monster. She just has to make herself look like the better parent. I sat there frozen. Because that's exactly what was happening. She wasn't screaming at me. She wasn't calling me names. She was just replacing me. Quietly. Strategically. One school drop-off, one shared laugh, one cozy breakfast at a time. She's got another man living in the house, I said, in front of our daughter. Doesn't that count for something? It depends, the lawyer said, leaning back. Did you leave voluntarily? I nodded. And did you leave the child in that house? Again, I nodded. Then right now, you look like the one who walked away. You need to fight smarter. That hit me like a hammer to the spine. Because walking out that door felt like survival. But now it looked like surrender. When I left the lawyer's office, I called her. Straight to voicemail. I didn't leave a message. I just drove straight to the house. He answered the door again. This time I pushed past him. Where is she? He stepped back, arms up, like he expected me to throw a punch. She's a dance, my wife said from the hallway. She was barefoot holding a wine glass. 2 o'clock in the afternoon. She's supposed to be with me today. You didn't confirm, she said casually, sipping. I don't need to confirm my rights to see my own daughter. You do if you don't live here, she snapped back. And there it was. No smirk this time. No half apology. Just the open weapon she'd been waiting to use. You're making this ugly, I said. No, she said coldly. I'm correcting what you've ignored for years. I laughed. A dry, humorless thing that hurt my throat. You're not correcting anything. You're staging a play and forcing her to watch it. You think she doesn't feel this? She feels stability, she said. She feels heard. She feels safe. I looked over at him. He wouldn't meet my eyes. Does he sleep in my bed? No answer. Does he sit at my table? Use my plates? Wear my robe? Still no answer. But her silence said it all. I turned to her. This is who you are now. Really? You rip apart a family and act like I'm the intruder. You made your choices, she hissed. You built a wall around yourself for years. Don't act shocked that someone else found a door. That's not what this is, I said, voice low. This isn't about loneliness. This isn't about emotional neglect. This is about convenience. You wanted something easy and he's easy. He worships you. You don't have to try. She took a step closer, her face inches from mine. And you were exhausting. We stood there, not yelling, not crying, just spitting truth at each other like venom. He quietly slipped out the back door. I didn't even care. He was irrelevant in that moment, a prop in the script she'd rewritten. Then she delivered her final line for the day. If you want to fight me for custody, go ahead. But she already made her choice. She feels more at home here with us than she ever did with you. And that was when I stopped responding. I walked out, got in my car, and for the first time since this all started, I didn't feel fire in my chest. I felt ice. Because now I understood. This wasn't a fight to win her back. This wasn't a plea for answers. This was war. And I was done playing defense. I didn't go back to the house after that. I cut off contact. Blocked her number. Not permanently, but long enough to pull myself out of her game. I stopped reacting. No texts. No drop-ins. No last-minute pickups. If she wanted to treat me like a background character, I was going to let her live in her own script without the satisfaction of my pain fueling her performance. I focused on one thing, my daughter. I filed for temporary custody. My lawyer moved fast. We gathered everything, messages, timestamps from the security footage, a copy of the security footage itself showing her ex entering the home late at night, and even a few voice recordings. I had a case now. Real one. But the thing that pushed the tide? A message. Late at night, 3 days after I walked out of the house for the last time, I got a text from my daughter. Not long. Not emotional. Just, can I come stay with you this weekend? It was like breathing after being underwater for months. I didn't respond right away. I waited until morning. Picked her up without a word to her mother. She ran out of the house with a small bag, no hug goodbye, no wave. Just a straight line from the front door to my car. That told me more than any court document ever could. We didn't talk much in the car. I didn't press her. I just played her favorite music, drove to her favorite breakfast spot, and let her be quiet. But later that night, she broke. We were watching TV, and during a commercial, she asked, "Do you hate mom now?" That hit me like a weight. I took a breath. No, but I don't trust her anymore. She nodded. Slowly. She said, "You don't care about us. What do you think?" She was quiet for a while. Then she said something that shattered me. "I think she's trying to make me like him more than you." She didn't say his name. Just him. And I knew exactly who she meant. That night, she slept on the couch beside me, curled up in one of my old sweatshirts. I stayed up long after she fell asleep, staring at the ceiling, thinking about how fast everything had been torn apart and how this one quiet moment felt like a lifeline. The next morning, I got a call. Unknown number. I answered. It was him. "I didn't know she was going to drag your daughter into this," he said. "Then you're an idiot," I replied. "She told me it was over between you two." It was. Until you moved into my house and helped her weaponize my child. He sighed. "I didn't sign up for this kind of mess. You did when you walked through that door and stayed." Silence. I'm leaving, he finally said. I should have stayed gone years ago. I didn't say anything. I just ended the call. That should have been the win, right? But when I dropped my daughter back at the house Sunday night, she didn't want to get out of the car. She stared at the front door like it was a cage waiting to close behind her. Then she looked at me and whispered, "She's going to be really mad you let me come stay." "I don't care if she's mad," I said. "You're allowed to love both of us." She shook her head. "She doesn't want that." And that's when it hit me again. This wasn't just betrayal. It was manipulation, control, strategy. And my daughter had become a pawn in something I never agreed to play. But that was about to change. Because now I had her words. I had proof. And most importantly, I had her trust. And I was going to use it to bring the whole facade crashing down. The hearing was scheduled for a Thursday morning. One of those cold, gray mornings where the sky hangs heavy and everything feels slower than it should. I wore the same suit I got married in. Not out of sentiment. Out of irony. She came in looking perfect. Like always. Fresh pressed blouse, soft waves in her hair, makeup done like it was just another meeting. And she smiled. At the clerk. At her lawyer. At me. Like this was a performance and she was the star. Her lawyer played the predictable angle, painted her as the stable parent, the calm one, the default guardian. Claimed I left voluntarily. That I was struggling emotionally. That I'd been erratic. They brought up the fact that I hadn't spent much time with my daughter in the past few months. No mention of the reasons why. No mention of the man sleeping in my bed, eating at my table, walking around my house in my absence. Then it was my turn. We didn't start with drama. My lawyer began with evidence. Footage. Photos. Screen grabs of her ex entering through the side gate, staying overnight. My daughter appearing in those clips, visibly uncomfortable. The overnight bag. The dinner parties. My family built around a lie. Then came the message. My daughter's words. Her own voice. Quiet, scared, raw. Saying exactly what she'd told me that night. "I think she's trying to make me like him more than you." That sentence landed in the courtroom like a grenade. The judge didn't speak for a full 10 seconds. Then I took the stand. I didn't cry. I didn't beg. I didn't even raise my voice. I told them the truth. That I loved my daughter more than I knew how to express. That I walked out because I had no other choice. That I didn't fight right away because I was busy trying to survive. That I came back not for revenge, but to protect the only person left in that house who still looked at me like I mattered. And when it was her turn to speak, something changed. She cracked. Just a little. She scoffed. Dismissed the recordings. Called them taken out of context. Rolled her eyes at the messages. Laughed. Laughed. When I said our daughter was confused and hurt, and the judge noticed, the switch flipped. Her polished act slipped. And the woman standing there wasn't the stable mother anymore. She was smug. She was careless. She was proud of the damage. By the end of the hearing, the judge didn't rule fully in my favor. That would have been too easy. But he gave me split custody, real time. Not supervised. Not conditional. 50-50. And a warning to both of us. One step out of line and things would shift again. When we left the courthouse, she didn't say a word to me. Just got in her car and sped off. But I didn't care. Because 10 minutes later, I was sitting on a park bench with my daughter, eating ice cream, laughing for real for the first time in months. She looked up at me and said, "So, you won?" I shook my head. "No. We won. There's still a long road ahead. I won't lie. Damage like this doesn't just fade. My daughter is still untangling herself from what her mother tried to weave around her. There are days she's distant. Days she's angry. Days she asks questions I don't know how to answer. But she's with me now. And she's starting to see through the cracks. As for her mother, she's still in that house. Alone. He's gone. I never asked why. Never needed to. Because the truth always comes home eventually. And when it does, it doesn't knock. It walks straight through the door. Final thoughts? If you're reading this because something feels off in your relationship, don't ignore it. Don't rationalize it. Don't wait for them to tell you the truth. People don't always confess. Sometimes they just replace you and hope you won't notice. But don't stay silent. Don't play the fool. Don't let them write your ending for you. Write your own. I did. And I'm still writing it every day.